All right, well, welcome to the first of two Yammer sessions. So, my name's Rob Foster, and we'll go ahead and get started here. So the title of the session is They're Likely Already There, Some of the Business Benefits and Risks of a Yammer Network. This is the first of two Yammer sessions this morning that I'm doing. So this is kind of a session that we're going to talk a little bit about what is Yammer and you know, how do you use it, how are users using it, and so forth. In the next session, we're going to talk about some real, I guess, implementation plans for how to roll out a Yammer network, and some of the things I've ran into out in the field, and you know, when we rolled out our personal Yammer network at my company, as well as things I've seen, industry trends and such. So, y'all might notice I talk a little funny, but where's my strange accent from? So I'm based in Nashville, Tennessee, which obviously is in the U.S. I'm a senior manager at a Big Four financial accounting firm, and we have about 200,000 users as it relates to SharePoint and Active Directory and all that. We have a fairly big network on Yammer, so it's we'll see some metrics. We'll start looking at metrics in the next session, and you'll see some of the how many users we have collaborating in our network. A little more randomness here. I'm a SharePoint MVP. I just got renewed for the 8th year. I can't believe they let me back in for that. I'm a co-host for the SharePoint Pod Show. So we've been going about 5 years now on the SharePoint Pod Show. Had well over 1 million downloads for the show. I used to write some books, so I claim myself as a retired author, in the SharePoint space. And for fun, in my spare time, I play guitar and Hammond organ in a rock band in Nashville, Tennessee. So, you can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Les Paul Rob, and Les Paul is a guitar, by the way. And the hashtag for the conference is pound or hash SPEVO. So you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Yammer. I'm out there. Just send me a request and I'll accept it. So you might be asking yourself, where is Tennessee? So I wanted to kind of show you a map of the U.S. and show you where it is. So it's right where the box is, and the green arrows are pointing at Tennessee. And some of the things Tennessee is famous for is, you might have heard of Elvis, Jack Daniels. I know some of you guys have heard of Jack Daniels. We're kind of famous in the U.S. for both types of music, country and Western. So we do that, right? Gibson guitars and famous for barbecue out of Memphis. So that's a little bit where I am. I like to do that in an international audience because somebody asked me where a place is in France. I have no idea. So so here it is. Want to have this disclaimer here. These opinions that in kind of guidance I'm giving you just from a legal perspective are my own opinions and don't represent any views or recommendations from my company. So if you break your Yammer network, don't sue my company or you can talk to Steve from Combined Knowledge.
We see you.
Or sue me directly, yeah. After you Facebook friend me and all that. So I want to take a quick poll. Who here uses Yammer? Okay. For those who don't use Yammer, what are you hearing? Are you hearing good things, bad things, or you just don't know? What? Curious. Good things? Yeah. Okay. It's okay. It's interesting. So no negative feedback. That's good. One of the things, it looks like we've got a lot of people that are fairly new to Yammer, and again, this is a good session because I'm going to introduce you to Yammer. I'm going to show you, our Yammer network and show you how people are connecting and collaborating in there. But in a nutshell, Yammer is very much like Twitter and Facebook for the enterprise. So it's kind of a conversational, very relevant at the time conversational piece, a social media tool for your enterprise. And when I say very relevant at the time, what happens is as users are talking in Yammer, their conversations bubble up to the top of say, your news feed. And relevant conversations, are closer to the top. And as conversations become less relevant, they kind of fall off the list. And what happens is that it starts to build, over time, it builds up a knowledge base. So you'll have users asking questions, whether it's questions over a project or it could be questions over hey, what are you doing this weekend? Or what's the best way to, I'm using social examples. What's the best way to cook a piece of chicken or, things like that. But, typically in the business realm in Yammer, it's more project-related information, or it could be client-related information. And over time, that body of knowledge starts building up, and you can become searchable and everything. So you can start preserving this body of knowledge about specific topics in your enterprise that are going on. And conversations might pop up from 2 years ago that you'll see that become relevant again when either a project, the second phase of a project spins up, or you re-engage with a customer. So, it's very interesting to see how conversations kind of ebb and flow in and out of your Yammer network. So Yammer really is all about allowing your employees and people you work with to connect at a different level. So how can you achieve business value from Yammer? And this is kind of what we're going to talk about in the session. But at the core of it, it's all about how you talk and how people communicate and collaborate at work. One of the things I do often in our Yammer network is I'll post a question. How do you do this? Or, hey, I've got a question about some certain topic. And what I start to see is different people from around our organization start answering. And these people, I may know them as, personally, and I may not. They may be in Germany or Australia or somewhere else that I would have never met them, and I've never had a chance to really collaborate with these people. So as I start getting answers, I get a real holistic view on solving problems based on different people's views from wherever they are in the world. So it really does allow me to gain value and solve knowledge or solve problems with knowledge, with the knowledge people have that I work with. So being able to make those contacts and reach out to those people for answers it's just been a tremendous impact to the way I work, and it's really helped me be more successful in my job. So a lot of this I've got some listings of things here, but that's really the core of it. One of the things that we won't cover as much in here is Yammer has a concept of these things called internal networks and external networks. Your internal network, Yammer, when you log into Yammer, you're required to put in your email address. Okay, your email address is rob@robfoster.net or whatever. That becomes your Yammer network, your robfoster.net, your @ address. So you can build your Yammer network based on your email address. That's your internal home network. Now, you can also join external networks, right, where people from other email addresses can collaborate. And there's one, like I have one for my work address, clearly, that's my home network. And there's one, like, I'll use the one for SharePoint. There's one called SPYAM that you can join that's really a bunch of SharePoint people collaborating, about the topic of SharePoint. There are also a lot of companies that I'm seeing out there are using external networks to collaborate with customers, right? So you would have that same type of collaboration you would have in your internal network, but being able to invite customers into this network and be able to collaborate with them, whether it's a dedicated customer network or it's one for all of your customers. And Yammer, we'll see Yammer's customer network here in just a few minutes, but Yammer actually does that very well. And what they do is when you decide to go with like the enterprise subscription and expand your Yammer network and start paying them for it, what they do is they invite specific users in from your network into the Yammer customer network, and they discuss things like new releases. Or you can ask questions about or post bugs into their customer network. I think they had a branding change a couple months ago, so they actually made the announcement of the branding change. Here's what to expect when this comes out, and things like that. So they do a really good job on this external network here and really extend the reach. Because they could do it by email, but email is more of just a one-way. Hey, here this is coming. And then if I replied, it would just be back to the person that sent it, rather than, hey, here's this branding change coming. I could post a question on Yammer, and then everybody would see that, and you could start collaborating around, my question, and people might have the same question and get their question answered as well. So that's and we'll revisit these topics as we go in. So one of the things I've noticed over time, I've been in the industry for about 15 years, not as long as some of you, but quite a while, is technology is always evolving. It's never going to change. And one thing I've noticed that really stays constant is the way we communicate is kind of really the same. I mean, we've done it differently over time. We started out using birds with letters that we sent off or whatever, kind of for the diagram. But email, phone calls, face-to-face, whatever. The way we actually communicate is the same. So just leveraging another technology to communicate like Yammer is, essentially the same thing. It might give you a little broader reach there. I wanted to highlight some numbers here because I think it's very important, specifically for the business track. Here is, I wanted to look at the number of users of email versus social networking, and then the number of people using social media over portals. So we hit a point for the number of on the email track. We hit a point in 2009 to where the number of users actually using social media for email went above the number of users using email for email, right? So have you ever sent a message on Facebook, right, to somebody, like a private message? This is really what I'm talking about. So in 2009, that number actually crossed and it went above people actually using email for social media. As far as portals go, portals have been people using portals at work, to get their information, has been slowly declining for years. And you can see there was a huge spike in 2011 that kind of put people using social networking for information there for I guess time spent online. So the time people are using portals is decreasing, and then the time people using social media is increasing. Anybody walk by somebody's desk and seen them close Facebook real quick? No. Okay, so some other numbers here, and these are also the sources are down here. But so we've got about 800 million users with over 100 billion connections on Facebook. 300 million Twitter users with 1 billion tweets every 4 days. And at the end of 2012, the number of mobile devices in the world actually exceeded the number of people in the world. So we're starting to see a major shift of how people are connecting and how people are using the internet and different systems to collaborate. So we're in a good spot in 2013. So any of this sound familiar? Talking about who can help me with this project? I'm new to the company. Where can I find, the printers? Who's going to a conference? Well, all of these questions that typically come up at the office. One of the things that we've seen is a lot of these questions. I've seen it on Twitter and I've seen it on Facebook. Hey, I'm going to a conference. Hey, I've got I'm doing this. But specifically as it's relating to business, a lot of these questions can be answered with Yammer. So, as we discussed, Yammer is the private secure network, that allows you to collaborate this way to connect, collaborate, and coordinate. And what it does is it allows you to work in real time, in a social manner. They have a lot of mobile apps, so essentially every mobile device you can download a Yammer app, so you can do this on mobilely. And this is kind of what it looks like. So it has that Facebook look and feel. And we'll jump into the network, assuming the internet connection's still up today. But this is kind of what it looks like. So if you're familiar with common social media tools, Facebook, Twitter, things like that, your users are going to be able to jump into Yammer very easily. It's essentially got a wall, and it's got conversations down here. You can follow things and all of that. So some common Yammer usages here, and I've highlighted a few that I want to discuss here, are really around asking questions and getting quick answers from experts at your company. One of my favorite Yammer groups, Yammer has these things called groups where you can post, I guess, contextual related information. One of our Yammer groups that we have, and it's one of my favorite ones, I visit it, almost weekly, but it's called Excel Tips and Tricks. I'm not really an Excel expert. I love Excel, but there's a lot of people that are doing, some deep Excel work in my company. And I'll see questions come in, how do I do this? How do I solve this problem? And people from around the world are really answering and helping people solve this problem. So allowing people to ask questions and get answers from experts at our company, because the answers you get are different than what you might search on the internet, right? Because your chances are likely the answers you're looking for are for a specific business problem, not necessarily a how do I do this or how to do that. How do I actually solve this problem for this customer? And what you'll in turn get is a very, relatable answer from somebody that might have done it before in a similar engagement. Share news and announcements with people who need to know, and I think I've got it on the next slide here. Here's a relevant posting that I was preparing my slideshow last night, and I was like, I've got to find something. I need to find something that's really impactful, and how are people sharing announcements? Within 15 minutes of the bombing that happened yesterday in Boston at the marathon, there was an announcement that went on Yammer. Hey, have you, anybody running in the marathon? We had a lot of colleagues running in the marathon. Post here if you need help, or somebody that needs help, or whatever. We'll get you out. Very, very relevant, right? So it's more than hey, I'm solving a problem. But and I've seen it. I think there was an earthquake in New York a couple of years ago. Within 10 minutes, Yammer started lighting up to say, hey, I think there was an earthquake. I'm okay. Post here, and people started posting. Do you need any help? I think there was somebody actually stuck on a train, and they were posting to Yammer through their mobile device. So things like that, right? That's really. You can't put a money value on this, right? You can't make money on this, but it does provide business value a different way, right? To where you have people that are trying to, help people in a different way. So meet colleagues and share your interests, and might like to collaborate. One of the hardest things we have, and again, our company's fairly large, one of the hardest things we have to do within our company is, because people work either on a project or a lot of people work from home, meeting people and finding people with common interests and topics and things like that, and maybe collaborating around around a certain topic. Is very difficult sometimes. And what you can do with Yammer is, I've talked to a lot of new employees recently that have been coming into our firm, and what they do is, one of the first things they do is jump onto Yammer and see what people are talking about, and see, they search for group, like I'm a runner, might not look like it, but I actually do run around occasionally, but we have a running group in Yammer, and it's kind of nice to be able to, as I'm around in different cities, maybe to see if anybody's running in the morning, or whatever, if I'm in Boston or if I'm in New York. It's kind of nice to go and say, hey, would anybody like to run today? And stuff like that. So really meeting colleagues that you wouldn't normally meet, and collaborating on different things, or just meeting up at a bar. Hey, let's go have a drink. So talked about the new hires, and rapidly disseminate information to a few or many people without spamming or email lists. I was talking to somebody in the speaker room here just before the session, and the Office 365 operations team actually uses Yammer to for stability issues, for posting things about Office 365. So if there's a customer calls in, or the product goes down for some reason, they post to Yammer and start answering the questions to Yammer so that everybody can see it. It's not just an email thing and their request response to emails. So it's an interesting thing, the way the Office 365 team is using Yammer to not only post information about the product to themselves, but also solve problems. So as problems arise, hey, we've got this problem going on, okay, response, here's how it was solved. And that becomes a knowledge management asset at that point, because you have this problem, you figure out what conversations happened to solve it, and then you have the resolution to the problem. And that stays in your Yammer network forever unless you delete it. So how do you start using Yammer? I know there's a lot of people new to Yammer out here. Well, it's actually really easy. You can go to yammer.com and you can sign up using your email address. and you can create a password, create an account out there. And if there's not a network associated with your email address, then it will create one in the background, and you'll be the first person, in there. But chances are likely if you work in a larger organization, you probably do have a network. Somebody has probably already created it. I think I was number 42 or something like that in our network. We actually created our Yammer Network in 2008, and it went live in 2011 for the premium subscription here. But for a couple of years there, people were collaborating in Yammer, right, on their own without anybody from business leadership saying, hey, we need to do this. We need to do Yammer. We need to launch it. So if you work in a larger organization or a medium-sized organization, go out and sign into Yammer and see if anybody out there from your company is collaborating and see what you can do. So logging in, signing in, very easy. Now, Yammer has this thing called a profile. As you're in Yammer, you can start to meet different people, and you can put information in about yourself so that as people start clicking on your name, they'll know a little bit more about you. And let me go into here. And this is our Yammer Network, so clearly you know where I work now. So the profile stuff is over here on the right. And there's, again, this is very much like a Facebook posting. Again, here's our Yammer Network. We've got all this. Before I jump into the profile stuff, this is my profile. I can click on my name, go to my profile. These are the groups that I'm a part of. So any topic related stuff, I can show up over here. This is the number of new messages that are in each group since I've been. So I'll know, right quick, I can, quickly scan the page and see what's new, what people are posting in. We've got a network usage policy. We'll discuss that in the next session. Any recent activity of people that are out here, that any suggested people to follow. So people that are, what Yammer does, it's got a neat algorithm in there. People that are posting in similar groups or posting similar topics as me, it recommends them, hey, you might want to follow this person. You might want to follow, or meet up with these people. Because they're kind of a similar posting profile as you. It's got suggested groups for me. Any trending files that are out there, people can post files, and any trending files that are out there that people are going back to constantly, which has literally changed since I loaded it this morning. so this is kind of it's very real time and everything. But this is kind of the homepage and what it's about. Now, what I can do is I can go to if I go to my profile, it'll show my profile, but what I want to do is go to the edit account. And this is when I was talking about editing your profile, it's going to go to this edit account. And you can see I have a very limited amount of information I can put in. When we went to the premium subscription, what happened in Yammer is we started syncing a lot of the profile fields directly from Active Directory. So that we have information about me that's coming in that gets synced directly from AD, which also comes from my HR system, right? So it's my job title, my phone numbers, and things like that. So a lot of that stuff is in there. So what we did was we actually disabled those fields in the admin tool. Those are now synced from Active Directory, so that if I can't go in and change them, it's only changeable through the sync, which means it has to be changed in Active Directory, which means it has to be changed in the HR system. So any changes that I have, like if my job title changes, for example, it'll flow into Active Directory and then flow into Yammer, and then it'll be updated, within a day or so. And I'm also, I guess, lucky or unlucky enough to be a global admin, and I can show you those profile fields as well. So let's look at the profile fields down here on the admin tool. They're right here. So these are all of the options you have available, and you can see I've unchecked a lot of these things. And what this does is just essentially turns those fields off for this network, so I can't change them. You can still see them, but you won't be able to change them. If there's data in there. So that's really, they do provide a lot of flexibility. It's not meant to be your profile system for your company, so there's things here that are, that are missing, say for example, from the SharePoint user profile. It's a little different, but this is, and this is not on the Yammer roadmap, but I see this as a potential integration point in the future for SharePoint itself. To have a little tighter integration with the Yammer profile. Again, it's not on the roadmap. I haven't heard any announcements, but I do anticipate this happening. So that is the profile. Okay, so we talked about this. You can type a biography in, the about you. There's different things that you can allow, disallow. Another thing, very important, you need to set up is notifications. All right, so going into the edit account, you can see there's different things here. I can change my password over here. I can look at different networks I belong to, add and remove applications, and then there's notifications down here. Now, what notification settings does is determines how Yammer contacts you when things, when a new message pops up that's targeted at you. So looking at this, it says, I can do things for different activities. So what I've got it set up to do, and this is all personal to me, I can, anybody can configure this differently. I can say never email me, send me a daily roll-up, or send me a weekly roll-up. So what I end up getting is a daily summary of things that are relevant to me. So I get a daily email. It says send it to my inbox when I get new followers, I install a new application, I post, all of these different settings here you can turn on and off. Now, you might want to adjust this a little bit as you're setting this up, depending on how much email you get. And so it is interesting, and you might not care about things like, don't send it in my daily post for when I install an application, or when I get new followers. I just I don't care about any of that. But again, it's all personalized to me. So because of the way I set my settings doesn't mean that's the way you have to set your settings. It's all personalized. You can set it up the way you want it. So also there's emails for activities in following groups here. So these are all the groups I belong to. There's require me to confirm my email before it's posted. So what this does is when I receive, I can set up notifications on groups to when people start responding to either me or maybe responding in the group, I can get an email. So this is global. These are the global settings. They also have notification settings at the group level. And what you can do is a lot of times you might be in a meeting or whatever. You might not have time or access to open up the Yammer mobile app. Yammer provides the ability to receive an email from a group posting, right? So something happened, you get a notification, hey, Rob, somebody asked this question. You can reply to the email, and it'll send it back to the group and post your email as a message, as a reply to that message. So what this does is it's just a setting that says, allow you to confirm your email before you can actually reply to, messages there. And these are all different. You have notifications essentially for every network you belong to. So you can see I've got, the SPYAM, I've got different settings there. So there's, so every network I belong to, I can set these notification settings up for it. Okay, so this is notifications. Understanding my feed. Let's walk through this a little bit. Go back to the home page. All right, so come on now. All right, so understanding my feed. You'll notice that in the feed settings here, and this is your feed. I can actually look at different. I can show things, and you can filter this by people, topics, groups, things like that I'm following. I can look at all, or I can look at top conversations, top rated conversations for across the network. So we've got about, 85,000 of our 200,000 people, we've got about 85,000 people that are posting in here, right? So if I pull up all, it's probably not going to be that relevant to me, right? Because there's just so much information flowing into Yammer. And so things like this, I mean, I don't know, so there's like photography. There's a photography group. And, so I don't know if this is relevant on the larger networks. It seems to not be for me, but rather than finding stuff I'm following. And I'll occasionally jump over to the top conversations to see really, if I'm not following something, maybe I should be following something because something is really a top conversation in the group here. So this is, down here, and this is really, top conversations is most recent activity. So it's really real time. So it's most recent activity in your network. So that's how you can do that. You can customize that. And these are actually settings. Yammer has a set of web parts, since this is a SharePoint conference, and we'll talk about the web parts here in a minute. But they have web parts that snap into SharePoint, and you can actually display these settings from a feed. So each, you have your feed. Each group has a feed, so you can do that. And you can display top conversations, all, or anything you're following. So it's different settings that actually flow into the web parts there. All right, search for content before you post. So important because a lot of times I'll see questions that come in that have already been answered many times over. And Yammer actually has a pretty good search built in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out here and let's just type Excel. And you can see it's got a very fast drop down here. So as I typed, in real time, so I've got, I started typing SharePoint. It's starting to filter down here. So if I type Excel, if I spell it right, what I can do is I can filter, and what it does is it filters this by people, right? People that's either their name or something in their profile is related to the topic, the thing I'm searching for. I can search for, it also does a quick search for groups that might be, on the topic I'm looking for. So you can see there's, it's finding Excel that I'm actually looking for, and it's, process excellence. So it's finding different things there. It's looking for notes, which are different things in Yammer. It's looking for files that are related. And any topics that are related. And topics topics in Yammer are essentially hashtags that you can apply to different postings. So it's just, hashtag Excel. So Yammer refers to those as topics. So very quickly from search, I can find the groups that I'm wanting to, or I can quickly just press enter and it should, well, did it? Yeah, I guess it's searching now. There we go. Oops. Yeah, it actually, I wanted to show you this. It actually pulls this up here in a tab dialog. So the drop down is only a consolidated view. This is everything that's in here. So you've got conversations. You can see I've got 1,381 conversations that are related to Excel or that have the word Excel in it. I've got one group. I've got 313 files. I've got 8 notes, 21 topics. So really, it does a nice job of consolidating this into a tabbed results view based on the different things that are posted in Yammer.
Well,
yes?
The conversations bit, is that when people have hashtagged it or just mentioned it?
That is actually when people have mentioned it. So you can see in here, let me scroll down just a little bit. I mean, you can see, so you can see the Excel embedded, blah, blah, blah. There's, so, and it highlights, if it's on here early enough, it'll highlight it in there. So that's people have mentioned it in their post. The hashtags, the question was, is that hashtags or is that when the people have mentioned it? So the hashtags are actually the topics here. So anything related to Excel. So I've got Excel 2013, automation Excel. So these are all the hashtags that posts have been tagged with that are relevant to my search. Yeah, so it does both.
Same question about content and files and notes. Is it actually looking for content or is it looking for titles?
It's looking for titles. Yeah. Titles and files. So you can see the files. You know what? Actually, it does look for content in here. It used to only search for the title here, but you can see this is a PDF, and it found the word Excel in the PDF. Yeah. Yeah, there's a PowerPoint, right? So yeah. It used to only search titles, but apparently that's a new feature that I haven't seen yet. Any other questions on this topic while we're here?
Can you read the most popular ones? Is that
They do a relevance, they do some kind of relevance targeting here. I don't know the exact algorithm. That's used to calculate in their relevance. I don't know how it is, but yeah, you can't sort by most popular or most popular viewed or things like that in the search. Yeah. Where are the files stored? That's a good question. Right now, they are stored in Yammer. Okay. In the future, and one of the announcements that came out of, did anybody go to the SharePoint conference in November in Vegas? Yeah, cool. You recovered from Vegas yet?
I'm trying to recover from why the integration isn't going to work.
Yeah. So one of the announcements that came out of there was Yammer actually has this, or is using this technology called Open Graph. Okay, and what Open Graph is going to allow us to do is it essentially allows us to post a file to SharePoint that's also shared in Yammer. So you can post, you're going to have the ability to post the file. So it's going to show up as a file in Yammer, but the actual file lives in a SharePoint document library. And it's similar to what Facebook uses, to where I don't know if you've been on the internet and you've seen you've been on a company page, some kind of store or whatever where you're shopping, and you see a little button that says "Like us" on Facebook. Okay, so the technology behind that is Open Graph, and that's kind of what they're bringing in for files.
Sorry, will that be driven from SharePoint to Yammer?
Yes.
Or from Yammer to SharePoint?
From SharePoint to Yammer. Yeah. And I think it's both ways, actually. I think they're actually going to offer it both ways, to where when you post files, you can set it up to load in your SharePoint environment. Yeah, that's kind of a contention there in a lot of, especially countries in the EU, because the Yammer data center is in San Francisco, right? So a lot of companies in the EU have a problem with posting files and content to Yammer because the data center's in the United States. And we've got this whole Patriot Act thing that seems to cause a lot of confusion.
Can you switch off the ability to post files in Yammer so you'll have to do it in SharePoint?
Yep, you can. Yeah, so the question was, can you switch off the ability to post files? If you look at the configuration settings, I think it's only for enterprise customers, but one of the features you can enable, disable. It's somewhere in the admin tools. It's just a checkbox. Yeah, you can. Yeah, file and image attachments right there. So you can just uncheck that, and then it will prevent people from uploading files. Yeah. File sharing is it's kind of a big thing on our network. If you disable that, you will be losing a lot of functionality, because you'll see a lot of in our search results, a lot of the things posted were files, right? So we had, just relating to Excel, 313 files or whatever it was. Yeah, 313 files. So a lot of that stuff is being used a lot in our network. So enable it if you can. So back to search. We found a group that's relevant to us. We can go, Excel tips and tricks. I can click on this group. It'll take me to it. So you'll see the group now. So this is the group feed. These are things that are really relevant and posted in the group. You can create public groups like this, where anybody can join, and you can create these things called private groups, where you can invite people to join. So a private group might be something to where you don't, it's some kind of private leadership conversation, to where you don't want people, the general public, to be able to join and contribute. But as leaders, you might want to have a sidebar conversation on, some particular topic. So here's an example. I wanted to, kind of highlight this. Like this person here, there's a lot of postings in here, but here's an example of, this is a real example of somebody actually reaching out to say, hey, it's Friday, trying to find this problem, but how do you count the number of non-blank sales in a column of invoice numbers? Where basically it's counting the blank sales, but it's not counting them if she has a formula in the blank, in the blank sales and the sales showing up that. So there were like 10 replies and several answers and several different approaches from people that actually replied and helped her answer the question. So, and people approach the solution differently, right? So you have a lot of different things, whereas if she Google searched this or Bing searched this or whatever, she might have found one answer, got to it, and left. But these are different solutions for the same problem. So it's an interesting, I thought it was an interesting case there. Question?
If this question's already been answered previously, can you provide a link to an older knowledge base article?
Absolutely, yeah. You can create, so each one of these links, just like in Facebook and Twitter, have a posting. So you've got, you can click on this. I can actually click this link specifically, and this is the link to that conversation, and it's got like a thread ID out here. So you can say, hey, this question's already been answered. Here's a link. Boom, and it'll take you right to it. Absolutely. Yep. All right. So joining groups. Groups can be focused around a topic, a project, a department, a team. Really any type of topic to where you're collaborating there. So groups are really, and I'll use the Excel group as something as an example. That's a specific topic that is out there for Excel tips and tricks. There's also groups created for different departments out there. So it might be the IT department or the HR group or whatever you have out there for your departments. It could be clients, right? Different client projects or things like that. There's a lot of different uses for groups, and groups really are. You can add an image for the group. They've added this image. You can post polls to the group. So there's a lot of different options for groups that you can do. And if I wanted to post a poll, I could click this. It'll say, hey, what's your question? What's answer A, answer B, answer C? What's your favorite version of Excel? Excel 2007, 2010, or 2013? Whatever. So I mean, you can definitely post polls. You can get a lot of crowdsourcing information from groups. That's really topic related. So instead of posting to the all company feed, you can really get some specific answers if you search for groups, find a group, join the group, and then start posting polls or questions into that group. Groups are easy to join, and let me find a group that I don't. You know what? I think that here's a group here called, SharePoint Development. Stop. There it is. Let me click. Oh, come on. Yeah, here's a group called SharePoint Development. I'm going to click on it, look at the group. I've joined it, but I can actually leave the group. Are you sure you want to leave this group? Yep. When you actually go, so say, hey, you've left the group. When you actually go to a group that you don't belong to, you have the ability to join the group, and you just simply click the join button. And then what that means is that any posting to this group is going to show up in my feed now. So anything I'll see will show up in my relevant feed. So you can see that same thing. There's information about the group. There's files. There's notes. Anything that's posted. I can view members. I can do a lot of this. So you can see members of the group. Any info. So there's a lot of stuff there with groups. Groups are great. Use them a lot. I use them a lot. But they're really good to really focus conversation around around a particular topic. So you can also follow people, and what I can do is I can look and search for people. Let's go back to this group here. And whether I'm searching for people or I find somebody in a group that's posting similar things as me, what I can do is, once I go out here and I start clicking on people's names, if I hover over their name, it's going to give me a quick profile view or a quick card view of them, and I can follow them from there. Or if I'm looking at their profile directly, I can click follow. Now, when you actually go to, when you click on somebody's name and you actually go to their profile, you get to see the conversations that these people are involved in. So maybe you might have seen this person posting in a group as you. You can actually go, when you look at their feed, to see what postings they're doing in all groups, right? So maybe you have something in common in a particular group, but you might want to see what else they're posting on to see what, where the mesh might be. So I can go here, I can just click follow, I'm going to follow this person, and there you go. Now, anytime this person posts, again, their post will show up in my feed. So it does that, so I can really start following and seeing what they're doing. So you might want to follow colleagues, for sharing project status, finding common interests, sharing discussed links. Your manager for sharing upcoming team goals, connect your staff with other team members, and managing projects. And senior leadership typically use it to communicate a global strategy, gather feedback about different policies, and also recognize performers. So follow anyone in your company to learn what they do is kind of the tip there. Yammer does have you can actually post, it's got this thing called praise, where you can, if somebody helps you on a project, you can actually post a kind of a thank you, whatever it's called, they call it praise, but you can just say, hey, thank you. It's just a little simple post, but it's just, hey, Rob helped me on this project, and it did this, that, and the other, and actually post that. So things like, leadership are using that to actually recognize publicly on the Yammer Network, things like that. And it could go out into the feed or into all groups, into the all company feed. So again, following people. So we've got the mobile apps in Yammer Desktop. The Yammer Desktop app, and when we look at the metrics in the next session, I'll show you, how people are accessing Yammer through our network. But these are all the available apps that are available. So for iPad, Windows Phone, iPhone, BlackBerry, Android, and the most common one you see is the desktop. The mobile apps do allow you to get to things and respond and get to things faster. The most functionality you'll see is on the Yammer desktop, the Yammer desktop app. Or I'm sorry, the Yammer web app, which is out there. There is a Yammer desktop app out there that's more of it's like a tweet deck or something like that. So it's kind of the same technology there. But the Yammer web app, this is aside from the Yammer web app there that we just saw. The most functionality is available in the web app. So how does Yammer integrate with your current platforms? The Yammer website, yammer.com, obviously there you can post a link there on your network, go to there. Yammer has a technology called Yammer Embed, which will allow you to embed different types of, like a special iframe that you can embed in your applications and essentially just show a frame into a news feed. It's something if you go to developer.yammer.com, you can learn more about that. They have a pretty extensive API as well that's fairly well documented on developer.yammer.com. It's all REST-based web services to call. The Yammer for SharePoint, announced a couple of weeks ago, actually, SharePoint 2013. Have you guys seen the news feed in SharePoint 2013? You know what that is? So the news feed is kind of like it's most similar to the Yammer wall that we just saw, or the Yammer feed postings that we just saw. It was announced a couple weeks ago that 2013, the SharePoint 2013 summer update release is going to replace the SharePoint 2013 news feed with Yammer. Okay, so that's going to have, or it's going to have an integration point to Yammer to where I think it's probably going to be a setting, on there. But that announcement did come out that's coming out. They also have web parts available, and they have a sync tool for syncing Active Directory information, to where the stuff like we were talking about actually goes there. The Active Directory sync is a separate tool. It does require separate servers to run on. I think we're running ours on VMs, but it's not that processor intensive, but it does require hardware on your side to actually query your Active Directory and send the data up. We talked about Open Graph integrations here. Thank you for the question. We talked about Open Graph integrations here, and that seems to be where they're going is, with the integration between SharePoint and Yammer is using Open Graph. So it's kind of an interesting model that they're taking to where really a lot of the technology that the social media tools are using is now coming to SharePoint. So we've already looked at the Yammer network, and we're kind of running a little short on time here. Things like terms of use, we'll talk about the policies a little bit in the next session, but when you first log on to Yammer, to your local network, what we've done is we've actually set password policies. We require users to accept the terms of use. And what you can do is it makes you set your password policy to three lowercase letters and I don't know, some kind of crazy algorithm there for your password. You have to accept this terms of use. And you can view the terms of use at any time. It's usually in the right-hand corner. But basically, this is our terms of use. It's just some, what you can do, what you can't do in the Yammer network, and specific things for different countries. Like, the U.S. has a little different policy than Germany, for example. So we have, here's what, if you're a German user, read this because you can't post files or, or something like that. So, but really, it talks about, gives user information. We decided to go with more of a minimalist approach instead of giving like a 9-page document of legal terms that nobody's going to read. It really is basically instructions for what you can do and what you can't do in Yammer. It talks about who can see your posts when you do it. It really does paint a good picture. We talk about postings will be deleted after a certain amount of time. We want the content to remain fresh. Things like that. So there's really the very important here. It says the do's and don'ts in other terms. So don't reference clients. Don't use the global network for blah blah blah. Maintain appropriate confidentiality. So there's a lot of things here that's more just best practices. It's just, hey, if you're thinking about posting something like this, read the terms of use, and there's some do's and don'ts there. So we talked about the home network, external network, and groups. We talked about files. Yammer also has apps that you can snap in. So they've got an app framework that they'll offer apps that you can snap into your Yammer network. And we also discussed building my feed, which is all about following different groups, topics. We didn't talk about following topics, but just like in groups, if you go down and you type Excel, I'm going to do a search, and you can go to topics here. So you can also follow hashtags. So anytime somebody posts a particular topic, or hashtag something with Excel 2013, I can click that. Okay. First of all, it's going to show me here's all of the conversations that have this hashtag, and then I can actually follow that hashtag. So now anybody that posts something anywhere in my network with the hashtag Excel 2013, I'll actually see that in my feed now. So it really does. They really do a good job there with building your feed. So. We talked about the high-level roadmap here of SharePoint integration. The SharePoint 2013, the news feed will be replaced in the summer 2013 release for SharePoint Server, which runs in your data center, and SharePoint 365, which runs in the cloud. And there's tighter content integration with via Open Graph. So not only can you post documents out there to Yammer with Open Graph, they're going to allow you to post links to articles. It could be a blog posting. It could be a piece of content web content that you posted. So you can actually post that out there as well.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yes.
Is it true that it will be replaced? Because I've heard that there will be an option to replace it to be decided by the customer.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So it will be replaced in 2013 365, right? So on the 365, the SharePoint in the cloud, in the 2013 SharePoint server that's installed in your network, it's going to be a configuration option that you can.
Also for Office 365, it will be an option to decide.
Oh, is it really? Okay, I didn't know that actually. Yeah. So.
Announced on the 19th of March.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know because I heard they were going to just cut it over on 365, and I knew it was going to be an option for SharePoint Server. But yeah, okay. So it sounds like it's an option for 365 as well. Cool. Okay. So we talked about the roadmap, SharePoint integration. So any other questions here? We've got about 4 or 5 minutes for questions.